This week on RSBANDB Update, we unravel our Golden Gnome choices, unpack what was and was not answered from Mod Osborne's livestream, share our 2022 predictions, and talk about skill reworks and the early game. You might ask, what do crafting, agility, and hunter have in common? We dig low. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 859, recorded Thursday, December 9th, 2021. Droning Gielinor. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of RSBANDB Update. Just Tannis and myself here this week. It's December now.
It is. No snow on the ground yet, but
that's unfortunate.
You know, we only really want it for Christmas, and then it can go away.
Yeah, we got a nice slick coating of rain, which you know what that does when it's cold out. So, that was fun. Apparently, there were more than 100 ambulance calls the other day because of people who have fallen because of the ice.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's not good.
No, it's not. But of course, that's what's happening here. Of course, if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's summertime. But nonetheless, welcome to RSBANDB Update, everybody. This week, a bit of a more different show than normal. We're going to talk about the Golden Gnomes. We're going to just briefly pass over Frank's free deaths, and then patch notes, Mod Osborne's live stream, and our predictions for 2022, which should be a fun one. You haven't told me what yours are yet, so I'm gonna let you loose on that. And that's gonna be fun. You haven't told me what they are, so we'll just keep watching and waiting on that. But if you're joining us for the first time, you can find us in game at Friends Chat, BitsBytes, and of course join our Discord at rsbnb.com/discord. All right, so the Golden Gnomes, another December surprise by Jagex. A lot of people thought they weren't going to happen this year because no RuneFest, and we hadn't heard a peep of them until the start of the month. But lo and behold, here we are having a very, very, very compressed Golden Gnomes period. So much so to the point that from initial announcement and nomination starting to the ceremony is exactly 2 weeks.
Wow. Yeah. That doesn't feel forced or anything.
No, and you know, I think the community wanted it, and one of the things they said on the live stream was that the whole reason they're able to pull this off is because the old school community management team is actually doing most of the heavy lifting on it this year. So that was an interesting thing that they said. Right, because you got to remember, on the RS3 side, we only have 2 community managers currently.
Right.
So, but nonetheless, we are going to be talking about the Golden Gnomes. By the time you're hearing this, voting will be open. So the categories that are up for public vote this year under the video section include the best new RS video creator, the best new old school video creator, the best RuneScape video creator, the best old school video creator, RuneScape video of the year, and old school video of the year. Then there's also a streaming category, which is another public vote. Best new streamer for RS3, best new old school streamer, best RS streamer, and best old school streamer. Then we got a bunch of categories under art, which is this is a category that has grown a lot over the recent years, which I'm happy about, because I remember when it started out, it was one of the smaller ones, but now from the looks of it, this is rivaling the video category, which I think is wonderful. So under this, we have Best New RS Artist, Best New Old School Artist, Best RS Artist, Best Old School Artist, Best RuneScape Artistic Creation, Best Old School RuneScape Artistic Creation, and Best Cosplay Creation. Of course, nobody's able to see the cosplays walk across the stage this year at RuneFest as normally the tradition, but we will have to work with photos in video, and maybe videos in general, on this.
OnlyFans? What?
I don't know if something like that for RS exists, and I'm not about to go looking for it.
I'm trying. I'm trying to think what kind of RuneScape outfits would be interesting.
And your mind goes to an RS OnlyFans.
Yeah, because I'm a comedian at heart.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Ay, ay, ay. It's at this point I'm going to tell everybody to go vote for one of the friends of RSBANDB Update, and we had this guy on a lot. And Tanis, you remember Joe Dwarven Yak of the Book of RS series?
Yeah. Did he get nominated?
He's nominated for a gnome.
Oh, you gotta go vote for Joe.
Best RuneScape video.
Awesome.
For the fourth age of RuneScape, a short film number 8, and the number 8 implies that there were 7 of them before, covering everything going back to the first age.
The amount of work that must go into those videos, that's a passion project right there.
It really is. It really is. I've had the fortune to be on the other side of his production on that. I think I lent my voice to a dwarf in one of the series. I think one of the third age ones. Of course, we've had numerous other RSBANDB update people help and contribute with that. But these videos, the Book of RS series, and going through all the different ages of RuneScape, they're as close as you can get to feature documentaries on the lore of RuneScape. And these videos started relatively small, but I think some of them that we were looking at, we were ultimately up to almost an hour on. Yeah, 50 minutes here for the fourth age one. So we're talking TV episodes that you can sit down for and watch and dive in to the lore of RuneScape, if that's your kind of thing. And I know how important that is to you from an accessibility angle.
I mean, it's important from an accessibility angle, and and some people just don't want to read during a quest or want to hurry up. They're going to spacebar through it.
Yeah,
these are really nice to kind of sit back, listen, and kind of get the story of RuneScape. This is the kind of stuff that would get me interested in doing quests and the different times that I've gotten fired up and went down that grind.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoy Joe's videos.
Yeah, and he's nominated for the fourth age series, but go to the channel, go to this video that's linked on the Golden Gnomes nomination, have a look at them, scroll through the first age, the pre-first age, the second age, the two-parter of the second age rather, and the 3 parts of the third age. Go through those, and if it scratches your itch for RuneScape lore, something you'd like to see done in a wider way of how RuneScape lore is built, go give him a vote. And had we known he was going to be up for a nomination, he would have been a no-brainer to have on the show this week. But as it is, the way these nominations fell, it was kind of quick notice for everybody else, and he didn't even find out he was nominated until today on this. So,
well, yeah, I mean, there's a week of nominations, and then the show goes on.
The show goes on, exactly.
Week, yeah.
Exactly. And all the other categories, we got a lot of heavy hitters in the other categories. And what I'm going to say for all the other categories is something really simple. Go and vote for the people that are good community stewards, or go and vote for the people who have an impact to the community in a way that benefits you, the way that you play the game. Or if you're like me, go and vote for some of the lesser known content creators on this list, because it's all too often the gnomes become this huge spectacle with people who have thousands of Twitch followers, thousands of YouTube subscribers, but at the same time there's so many other content creators, so many other artists and video creators that deserve a look at this. So definitely go in and vote on these categories here that are going to make you feel good. And if you want to do it the way I'm doing it, vote for some of the lesser known categories. And for example, under the best artistic creation, I'll be voting for the Staff of Armadillo by Willow. So those are my 2 recommendations of who to vote for. But nonetheless, happy to happy to be able to promote our good friend Joe in the Book of RS. So fingers crossed that he can pull out a win on this.
Absolutely. Good luck, Joe.
I'm going to be curious to see how this works and see if they can pull it together this quick, because if they can, then there's an argument to be made. Then, well, maybe the Golden Gnomes run-up period doesn't need to be as long then.
Yeah. That's, I mean, it is fast.
Yeah, and another thing I heard was that a lot of the discussion about Golden Gnomes this year, it was always on or off, and nobody really heard anything definitive from Jagex until we got the post or the announcement on the stream from it. And because of that, nobody was actually working specifically on Golden Gnome related things this year. So everything that we see that's cosplay related, that's art related, and video related is going to have been created without the idea of snagging a Golden Gnome. So in some ways, it's more organic this year than previous years.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how the ball bounces on that.
Yeah, personally, I'm looking for anybody that doesn't yell or
Yell fire in the auditorium.
I don't know, man. Sometimes I'll hear yelling from the other room. I'm like, what's going on? That'll be my daughter watching, a YouTube or something. I'm like, why are they yelling so much? It's like a thing.
Well, we could do that. I know people I could have on the show to do that if you want.
No, I will pass.
I know we prefer the more cerebral, thoughtful RSBANDB updates, right?
I do, yes. I think you do too. I
do. And then that brings us to the community category, whose nominees will be chosen by Jagex themselves. And this is, as they say, a brand new category recognizing two big achievers within our communities over the last year. There'll be one for RS3 and one for Old School. So you don't get to nominate those, but Jagex will pull that all together and see just... it'll be interesting to see who they put on that list, won't it?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think that one's potentially got the most room to surprise on that. Because would it make sense for Jagex to put somebody who's definitely going to be in the streamer or the video category in that community section?
I think it depends on who from Jagex do the nominating.
Yeah. I mean, I think the two initial ones that come to my mind for that category are the RS Wiki people, which I think they won something. I think they won last year on that. And the Penguin Group. Mm-hmm. World 60 Penguins. Those are just two ideas that come to mind on that for me right now. So, all right. Patch notes time. And, I actually just want to talk about one little thing that was hotfixed this week. Before we get to the actual...
There's quite a list here.
Yeah, there is quite a list here. But there was actually something else that was hotfixed this week about the Secret Santa.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah.
That sounds juicy.
Yeah. They had to patch the Secret Santa in a hotfix this week so that anything that was put in as a stack would be split up if there weren't enough gifts to go around.
Ooh. Oh, bah humbug. What?
Yeah.
That's socialism.
Specifically,
socialism.
Just wait. Specifically, items gifted by Iron Man and Secret Santa will now be given to other players, though Iron Man still cannot claim a gift. And stacks of gifted items in Secret Santa may now be split up between multiple recipients.
I don't really mind the Iron Man thing, because, spirit of Christmas is giving, right? But it's to give, although I'm still over there receiving. But that's, I'm joking around, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels a little weird.
Yeah, in their original post, it said in the rare event there are no prizes available. In the rare event, you'll receive one of the Christmas food items. Which, let's be honest, even after that patch this week, I'm still receiving Christmas food items, so I think the Secret Santa goose has stopped. I'm still giving generously each day.
I just wonder though, like, does that mean that no one will ever get a big prize like what they've gotten before because it'll just all be split up?
I think that's pretty much done.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, you split 2 billion amongst 500 people. That's a lot still. So it's like 2 mil each, right? So, who knows? Maybe there's someone out
But
there.
inflation, Shane, inflation.
Yeah, and that's another thing I was wondering, and I haven't been able to get answers on.
I know we did a whole segment on that.
If somebody donates GP, are they sinking the GP? We don't have an answer.
Well, they have an excuse for it now. Like,
yeah.
I mean, right? You could sink.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Real patch notes now. The Golden Party Hat's texture is now forced on even when set to minimal graphics, so you're not wearing an orange party hat.
Okay.
And with this, they also updated the inventory icon to be gold instead of orange.
A good thing you don't want to be orange.
Right? The post-quest content for Once Upon a Time in Gielinor is now actually required for the Master Questscape. That's going to talk to Rulomia again. An issue has been fixed with projectile animations for Solak, Anachronian creatures. That's a fun name, Anachronian creatures. And the Menaphos quest boss. I think you definitely want that for Solak.
Do we have word from our PVM experts on that one?
No, I don't. I didn't ask about that this week. They also added missing bank presets names for the legions and Rex matriarchs. Those presets don't exist. Papaya seeds can now be added to the seed bag. Previously, they could not be.
That's strange.
Yeah. An issue has been fixed where the Maul of Omens pieces were invisible as the player progressed through various Virago phases. Fixed an issue that was reducing forced critical strike damage by 1 damage point.
1 damage point, huh?
1 damage point. This, folks, is the granularity of your RuneScape patch notes. A patch note that shows when you have a forced crit, it was being reduced by 1. You get that extra 1 damage point back. Like, what other game would have this kind of patch note?
I don't know. Good attention to detail.
Yeah. That feels like a Mod Sponge fix. The response to a quick chat about the scripture Bic no longer mentions the Croesus spore sac. Good. The Rex Matriarch's image in the Beast tab has been updated. And, you know, it's also been updated this week in the Beast tab and the bosses in general. All the bosses are now wearing their Santa hats.
Oh, isn't that cute?
Yeah.
Still gonna beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, so Carapax got his Santa hat on it, and he looks like a mob Grinch or something with the staff. The Glacier has this big red hat on the central bit of blue, and Croesus has the biggest hat of them all.
Naturally.
Yeah. Oh, and Zuck has a hat, too, that I posted a screenshot of in the Discord. So, fun little usual bit of Christmas fun around RuneScape. All the bosses get their Santa hats.
Yeah, I like to see the old Glacier. It needed a little bit of red. Go with its blue.
Yeah. I'll send you the photo. There's one in the Discord. But that's in the Beast tab, and if you look in the Beast tab, you can look at Jad or Virago, and they got all teeny tiny hats, whereas the ones that are on our Elder God Wars boss friends are absolutely huge in comparison. So that's just downright amusing to see. So I sent you the photo. You can give a comment on that if you want, but I'm going to move on to the next patch note now. The Peer Off the Pier achievement now only requires fishing level 1 compared to 16 as before. Plank you very much, and relocation, and are now correctly unlockable by free-to-play adventurers. And from the sounds of it, these are construction achievements, which, when you think about it, free-to-play players can do construction up to level 5. Plank you very much requires players to make logs from a sawmill operator. Make planks from a sawmill operator. And relocation comes from moving your POH portal.
Such a tease.
Yeah.
Such a tease.
Right?
Level 5.
Yep.
Just enough to give it taste.
But would anybody want to train construction past level 5 on free-to-play?
I don't know.
What's
the best logging getting free to play? Like,
well, yeah, I mean oak, but that takes you to 5. But that's not that much. So, anyways, players are no longer required to take money out from their coin pouch in the feud, as this was problematic on mobile. This one set off alarm bells in my head because when it says something is problematic on mobile, that implies that it's a problem with the mobile UI. And rather than addressing that problem, which, honestly is a bigger problem, they went for the simpler approach with this.
You're surprised that they would go for a workaround instead of...
No, I'm not saying I'm 100% surprised by it. I'm just saying that this is the simpler approach, and from a monetary sense of the developer time, it makes 100% sense to do it this way, but it kind of shows that, hey, we might have an issue with the coin pouch on mobile amongst some other things like that around those UIs.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I always come from the side, too, though, of, I mean, how... Is that something that's being used, like, all the time?
No.
Is it, is that the common
Quest
user?
Is
that a common... Right. And so, I don't know. I think that always has to be weighed, too.
The donation buttons on the Secret Santa donation screen have been centered, or the text has, rather. Players can no longer walk into barrels at the Warforge dig site. And the line, "What about the battle?" in the dialogue with the Lumbridge Sage is now correctly spoken by the player rather than the NPC. And, of course, this is for anybody catching up on the events of Battle of Lumbridge, which happened in 2013. And I wonder how a new player who never experienced that would feel. Who knows? And mobile-wise, updated the tutorial settings to be visually consistent with the home screen. And last but not least, players will now more reliably receive the Golden Party Hat shard when completing Task 15 of the Act Track, rather than needing to reclaim the shard from the Wise Old Man. There's the patch notes of the week. I was just
thinking, Shane.
Yeah.
This game's been around so long now.
20 years. Almost 21.
There are players that have started since the Battle of Lumbridge. They've never known the game without the creator.
Yeah.
And doesn't that remind you of, like, your parents when you'd be, like, driving around town when you were a kid and be like, oh, that used to not be there when I was a kid, and, oh, this is new, and, oh, they're building out this direction now, and...
Yeah.
It's so crazy for that to be present in a game.
And you really have to wonder what other game has gone on this long. I think that might be a fun little research thing to do over break.
Yeah.
Look at, what are the longest running online games that are still being consistently updated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, alrighty. Moving on. Next up, let's do Patreon, because I think we're going to want to get comfy with the Osborne stream and our predictions. So this week, thank you everybody for making what we do here possible. It means the world to us. I got many, many good messages that the Patreon Christmas cards have started to arrive. So thank you everybody for your support. And this week, in particular, I'd like to thank Amos Reed, Andrew C., Arvids L., Chunk the Monk, Cook Me Plux, Diana, Drama Free, Duramax, Elo Matey, Free Milk, Jade Gizmo, Jason S., Jeebus, Jesse W., Kesky Plays, Lucky Ducky, Nate the Great, Pronacius, Renhonk, Ricky A., Samuel FL, Scott DS, Seth W., Singer, Stubby, The Bears OP, The Naked Captain, The Lion, Tom V., and Zant. Thank you, everybody, for allowing us to do what we do and send out those cards. I really enjoyed putting them together and going through with the team designing it, getting everybody's signature. That's always a fun part of the year, and we're so fortunate we have the support from you guys to enable that to happen. And if you want to support like everybody else, just check us out at patreon.com/RSBANDB. There, for as little as $1 a month, you gain access to the entire back catalog of monthly bits, including that big kahuna from last month where we had a discussion, and oh boy, did it have ramifications that, I said we were going to learn something, or I said it could turn out to be something bad, but it didn't turn out, it turned out to be both, which was a surprise to us, and the monthly bit is always good for that. So if you want long-form, in-depth RSBNB update episodes on a certain topic, that's what the monthly bit is for at Patreon. And we also have a VIP tier where you get special Discord rank and stereo version of the podcast in addition to everything else. And for $5 a month, you'll receive a shout-out each and every week on the podcast and gain exclusive access to the outtakes that we use to make the clip show at the end of the year, which at this point is only a few weeks away. And I'll just say, if you have clips you want to send to us that you might have heard on the show and you're not sure if we have pulled them out yet, just visit update.rsbnb.com/clips and fill out the form we have there. Be as detailed as you can, but general idea is good as well. But nonetheless, thank you to our Patreon supporters for making all this stuff here at RSBNB Update possible. It means a lot to us.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty. So, Mod Osborne sat down with Mod Hooley this week for a live stream.
He
did. And I felt that there was more to take out of this one than the one from the previous week. I think the questions were better this week that they surfaced. So, there's some relatively simple ones, but some that really paint a picture of where things could go. And I sensed a general theme that a lot of people in the community were trying to gain a picture if RS was going to, in effect, take that next step forward and, evolve, so to speak. But starting off with a lore-related question, would it be possible to fully reform Saren if you did not in the Light Within? And the answer from Mod Raven on this one that he gave to Relay was a no, with a maniacal laugh, of course, in full Mod Raven character. And according to the Lore Council on this one, the ramifications for this decision, if the player took it, will be relatively mild. So, not much to say there. And, I think I did fully reform her. I honestly wish there was a place we could go to get a list of all these decisions we made in that quest arc. Because, I remember some of the big ones, but I don't remember all of them. It's been so long. It'd be nice to have a way of pulling that up. But next, we turn to a question about a best-in-slot ring. Could there be something like an alchemical Hydrix ring, like we have the Essence of Finality? And obviously, this is something the PVM community would love. But the answer behind this one is that the Ring of Death is so dominant. And the answer is that because of that, no, not yet. The Ring of Death actually needs to become less dominant.
Well, I can think of a way to do that.
Yeah, rework death cost, right?
Yeah.
Or make a new use for the Ring of Death and make the Ring of Death effects a time-gated thing that you can purchase from War's Retreat. Something like that.
I don't know how much you want to read into that, but you kind of could read into that don't look for a death rework anytime soon.
Well, no. I mean, they're still in the data gathering phase with Frank's free deaths. So I think it's being worked on. It's just a question about the ring, more honestly, I think. Because have you ever heard the expression, a hand that stays closed stops being a hand?
No, I have not heard that.
All right. Well, the idea is that if you have a hand that is, permanently bound, you lose the use of your fingers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with losing the use of your fingers, you lose your hand. So what this means in the case of the Ring of Death is because everybody likes their Ring of Death and it's so dominant, the ring slot really is for one item in most cases, unless you're fighting things that you're very comfortable with and you're not going to be having the chance of dying at them. That's the way I see that. And that speaks to a design problem in the Ring of Death, which points itself at death costs. So, then the next question actually piggybacked right off of this, talking about Frank's free deaths being done, because they still have a lack of data around deaths, in particular that the free weeks they did with the Elder God Warriors fronts were good, but they need more granular data. And with this, there's a lot of tests that are being done around the economy, gold sinking, and deaths in particular, which we knew from talking about Frank's free deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here comes the question where they were trying to pigeonhole Mod Osborne and Mod Hooley into saying something. Are there any general updates in the pipeline for graphical quality? Not necessarily just graphical reworks, even just technical engine developments. Next year, there are significant updates that are partnered with graphical forward steps. It's not just all, the graphics team is not just all bundled up in the avatar rework, and there are actually other things. So I'd like to just take a moment here and tell our listeners that this is the kind of question where they gave an answer, but it didn't actually answer the question, if you noticed.
Mm-hmm. I was like, well, why would there be time taken from the avatar?
And the reason these questions have been asked is that there has been a lot of talk online about a potential RuneScape 4 with high fidelity graphics like you'd see in something like your ESOs, for example. People saw some leaks and assumed that, maybe Jagex is working on a new version of RuneScape. And, of course, we have the unannounced MMORPG on their hiring page as well. So it leads to a lot of questions, and I think the person who asked this one probably had that in mind and was trying to pigeonhole Osborne and Hooley into maybe talking about, hey, maybe we're going to be making the next NXT, so to speak. Next, I guess you could say. But
see, the funny thing about that is it wouldn't even be with them, right?
Yeah, it would be an entirely different team with that if they were making if they were making RuneScape 4.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
And this is just a reminder that you still have people out there like Mod Dag and Mod Mark who are Jagex employees but are working on another project somewhere. And a lot of them were combat related. And the question that we asked too on the last bit was, well, why do you take all these JMods who had experience with combat and early RS game design and put them on a different project?
We were asking that for about a year and a half
now.
Yeah.
And even the executive producer of unannounced MMORPG actually spoke up a week or so ago on Twitter, I think. I'm not sure if we talked about that on the bit, but when it comes down to it, he says he joined Jagex at the beginning of 2020 to develop a new MMORPG with some of the key developers of RuneScape. And the question we asked on the bit, and I'm kind of deviating a bit from the topic here, was, could there be a different game in the works that's not the RuneScape IP? Because Jagex has never had success with that. Or do they just stick with RuneScape as the brand? And that's the big question, are these games they're working on RuneScape, or are they something else? And I think that the person who asked this question was probably trying to do a little bit of data mining on that. Mm-hmm. So, I just wanted to point this out as an exercise of answering a question, but not actually answering the question you were asked. So, with that, we know that there are significant updates that are partnered with graphical forward steps. And could this mean that we could have a graphical area rework? It could be. Or it could mean that we could have a new area. Quite honestly, I think there's no way of knowing at this point.
Oh, I just think that means that I think that's something that stuck from Mod Warden, where when they go and do any kind of content now, you're going to get it's going to be a package. It's going to have
I hope so.
all
I hope
those
that
elements
sticks
in it. Well, I mean, it kind of what it sounded like to me that they were saying.
Right. And, just to jump around a bit, the question of dangling quest lines came up, like the Gnomes or Elemental Workshop came up, right? And they said if we need to, work on these storylines or we need the characters from them, then that would be a good time to address it. But everything for RuneScape is still going to be very forward-looking when it comes to story. I found that interesting, too, but we'll get to that one after. Anything else on the graphics question?
No.
All right.
Really?
Design update of the Dagonoth King pets, those have been pushed back because other things were prioritized, and I think being 2021, we can assume Elder God War's prioritized. Then here's a fun question, and this was asked by somebody, and these are the exact words they used. What are your plans for reducing technical debt so that projects are less likely to be delayed in the future? Now, let's just unpack this one for a bit. Technical debt is a term that many people colloquially refer to as spaghetti code, because as the game is 20 years old, and as you progress from 2001 to 2021, you build a lot of tech throughout all the years, and you keep using that tech. And it becomes hard when you have a game built around it to update some of those very core pillars. And because you don't update those, it makes it so that certain things like the avatar rework are harder to do. And that's, in general, the definition of technical debt. And the answer to this is that there are actually plans to expand the tech team to take on this issue. And
that's the first time we've ever heard that.
Yeah, and apparently this is going to be one of the key planks of the new executive producer.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, if they actually, I don't know, if they actually follow through with that, it really could open up some possibilities. But, gosh. But if that were to happen, then I would have to say that the unannounced MMO is just going to be that, a different IP, unannounced.
Right. And the question is, will that, take off? Because when was the last time Jagex pulled off one of their own IPs that wasn't RS?
Well, it's going to be, you got to tie it to RS. But would it be...
Oh, so you think it will be tied to RS?
Like a spin-off, right? Like,
right.
Okay, the Spider-Verse or whatever.
Okay, I see what you mean. Fair enough. Next question was the one I already answered about the gnomes. Are there any updates for clans or clan citadels in the future? And the answer to this is that, first of all, clans are important. And every update in the future should be more social. In particular, Mod Osborne would like to see the game move away from the AFK solo RPG style system. But nothing specifically planned for clans.
Good luck.
Yeah, and I think the best example of that was Archaeology launch week. When everybody was playing the same general areas and whatnot. And it's a question of how do you do that with the general RS update?
Well, it's not just how do you do it, but how long are you looking for that to stick? Because no matter what it is, it won't stick forever.
Right.
It doesn't fundamentally change the game, and RuneScape is probably forever going to be known as an AFK kind of RPG. If you're
and I mean the most basic answer is to reduce the number of worlds, but if you do that, then you wind up with situations where you end up with crowding in the skills that are still competitive. And we have anecdotal evidence, though nothing has been said by the tech team, that when you get more than 200-300 people on a world, it starts impacting the tick system. So much so that things like timers don't work, and you wind up with missed ticks at bosses and whatnot.
Yeah, and
I've actually seen
believe that.
I've actually seen the timer issue to the point where you drink an overload, and the prayer renewal part of the overload will end before the actual overload bit does, because there's just time ticks being lost on certain aspects of it. So,
yeah,
lots of stuff to unpack with that. All right. Then on the same idea of, quality of life, tech debt, and evolving the game, can we have an update schedule that's focused on patches and updating graphics in certain areas? And once again, this is another question I think that was trying to pigeonhole that idea of, is there going to be, another high fidelity update? And the answer to this is that there are multiple types of players: people who want new things to do, people who want improvements or reworks, and then there's also the modernization group. And the goal is not to have one or the other, like have the Elder God Wars dungeon, but they also want to expand the use of the ninja team, because they shouldn't have to have the team stop updates to fix the game. This feels like another Mod Warden thing that's carrying forward.
I guess I don't really understand what they mean. They shouldn't have the ninja stop an update or stop for an update.
No. They want to use the ninja team so that they can still have, like, how all the God Wars fronts were developed simultaneously, right? More or less. What they effectively want to have happen is they effectively want to have your headline updates happening and have the updates for quality of life and the tech debt stuff happening at the same time. And they want to use the ninja team to do that.
Oh, okay. Well, then just don't change what they do now.
Yeah, but it would involve expanding them, and I think, based on reading this, probably moving them, adding some engine people to it, probably, I'd say.
Well, if they keep doing that, it's more like I don't know if it's a ninja team or more like a school of of like Shaolin monks or something. I mean, I don't know, like a bunch of people, right? Like, I was trying to think of what was the ninjas that the Shredder had, right? The Foot, yeah, more like the Foot Clan.
Now, when it comes to graphically updating NPCs, the biggest issue they have is testing, and this was pointed out because we have the new polar bear model from the Yak Track, and that's why so many of the NPC models they have are used in a one-off sense. It's that they need to effectively go through and test everywhere that they are. Now,
okay.
Go ahead.
I can't believe, like, they literally have to walk around the world with it.
Well, I mean, not necessarily walk around, but run a drone or something that automatically goes and takes pictures, right?
Oh no, we're not droning Gielinor, are we? Shane, no drones in Gielinor.
That's what I think every time I open up the free cam, is that I'm flying a drone.
Not good. No, bad, Shane.
Oh, all right. How do you feel about Iron Man?
How do I feel about Iron Man?
Yeah.
I live your life. It's not my life, but I'm glad it's here. I'm glad it exists.
All right, because I hope
we get group Iron Man, because people are really having a lot of fun with that on old school.
Oh yeah, and if you look at the old school player charts, it actually shot up with that.
Yeah, now if we had group, I would totally do that. I think that would be a really fun way to go through.
Yeah, I'd call the farming herb lore and woodcutting files.
Yeah, and I'd probably do some fishing, and I don't even know what, mining and smithing. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it would be so cool to do that.
But anyways, the question was, will there be more Iron Man dungeoneering or more content for Iron Man? And dungeoneering for Iron Man is near the top of the ninjas list, apparently, which surprised me, honestly, because this isn't something I see as a top priority, and I'd be interested to hear from the listeners if they feel it's a top priority.
Yeah, it seems like when I've talked to Iron Man, they don't. I mean, it's not like it's fun, but they don't seem to mind this as much as I feel like.
Right, because we did.
You should mind it, because I'm like, that sounds.
Because we did get the solo,
like the worst thing ever.
The solo C6 large buff a number of years ago for XP and dungeoneering.
Yeah.
So, but from a policies perspective on this, their words, not mine. The Iron Man Council, as they say, is up for opening up more content as long as it doesn't diminish achievements further for Iron Man. And they also, with this, want to formalize the Iron Man Council a bit, as it's being called, because currently there's about 7 to 8 people who come in place for these conversations, but there's nothing formal. It's not like they meet bi-weekly or every month or something to that effect. But with this, you can see a little light go on in Mod Osborne's head that he wants to formalize it.
Mm.
And for everything that we've heard in the stream this week, I have to say that Mod Osborne was on point and answered the questions very well.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mod Osborne always. I mean, he gets a bad rap for talking too much, but he's always, I think, been very, very good for telling us what we what we need to know,
and what we sometimes don't need to know, right?
And sometimes what we want to know,
right? Like, are there any other plans to finish up older quest series? This came up again, and the example specifically given, and this isn't me putting things in here, was Elemental Workshop.
I'm sure it wasn't your alt or anything either.
No. And they said, same as the previous answer about using the current lens for past stories. So I just had to name drop that quest series again. Now, this is what you were going after. Will there be any exploration of temporary game modes like Dead Man or Leaks for RS3? And I personally felt the answer to this one was interesting because they said if anything like this were done, it would have to be unique to RS3. And I think we've said that before on the show, that you shouldn't just copy-paste Dead Man or Leagues, right?
Yeah, no. And we have some unique stuff to do it. Like, we might even mention before, you could do something in the realm of the Elder God Wars stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
or, I mean, there's a million different. There can be something new. You can get a new Coliseum or whatever. Almost like a duel. A place where you can go and.
They're looking at dropping some information on the Duel Arena replacement before Christmas.
Huh.
Yeah. So we can get a sneak peek of that. But they also said that at the same time, there's also a bit of a feeling that the RS3 community should not be split up from your main account. So what that means is that if you were to take part in something like this, you shouldn't have to make a new account for it and have to, go through a process via Jagex to get that reward back on your main. They would like it to be able to be done on your main account so that you don't need to go and recreate an account.
Okay.
Which I personally agree with. I don't know how you feel on that.
I mean, yeah, would it be like porting the character like you do in a beta?
No, it would be like, well, I don't know. That's actually a good point. Maybe you could do it that way. But at the same time, you'd like to have those changes back on main, right?
You're right.
Yeah. So that makes it difficult, I think.
Well, if you can do it one way, couldn't you do it in the reverse?
I don't have enough information to answer that, and based on our experience with the login lockout, I would lean no.
Well, yeah, I guess that is some evidence there.
Yeah. All right, simple question now. Could the Northern Lights skybox that's in this year's Grand Exchange in Berthorpe area be unlocked after the Christmas event? There's no team currently allocated to it. The team knows it's been appreciated. There's no idea of when it could be, but it's definitely likely, and I appreciate that.
That's cool.
Because I'd like to have that one.
I'm like Pokemon. I want them all. Collect them all.
Yeah.
You never know where a skybox is gonna come in handy.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Accessibility side, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, you never know. I want them all for any situation.
Could there be a wilderness revival project? And the answer to this was it's not off the table, but it's not being worked on currently. And they said that they'd have to be very careful with it because there's a lot of players who, of course, hate the wilderness because of the death and the risk and the fear, of course, right? But there are parts of the population that just like going out there and killing people.
Yeah, they're called assholes.
So they said they'd have to tread carefully with that kind of thing.
See, that's another one though. How many people you think? How many deaths are happening out there that aren't like related to war bands in any way? You know, so like
I wonder what it would be if you
really
put this to a
even
poll.
need it.
Like rework the wilderness, use some needle shenanigans, and bring the area of 4 and 3.
We need the land, damn it! It's time that we take that land back. Gielinor should stretch from sea to shining sea. That's our land.
Oh.
It's just sitting up there and they're not doing anything with it. It's just got some ruins and stuff. That's our land. We should go get it.
But imagine if you use the needle after Elder God Wars is done and you pulled old 4 and 3 through to the future and had that be your wilderness replacement.
Yeah, it would be absolutely cool.
It would be.
Yeah. That'd be cool on many levels. Just could you imagine the quest that would do that?
Second age exploration, here we come. Second age archaeology.
Oh. Yeah.
Second
age
smithing.
It seems like we have a key that does that too, don't we?
Way more limited than the needle.
Okay.
Yeah. Could you imagine second age archaeology unlocking second age smithing, kind of like how they unlocked ancient invention and ancient summoning?
Yeah. That would be cool. And maybe let you I wonder if that you could smith some like replica gear, you know. That'd be cool.
Oh, maybe that's the thing we should next be championing.
Hey, I mean, I have a feeling they're going to need some ideas. More on that later.
Will there be a Croesus solo mode? The answer to this skews no, since this encounter was initially angled to be a group skilling encounter.
Yeah, they purposely made it so that
you need that group.
That would be almost impossible.
Wrapping up, what's in the future for the Elder God Wars? We're only 2/3 away through the story, believe it or not. And from the words of Mod Osborne, there's a lot that still needs to happen with the environment, the characters, and the eggs, and just in general, more needs to happen. What does he mean by the environment?
I don't know. I really thought that we were like at least 3/4, but
yeah, I thought we were further along. I thought we were closer to that 3/4 or 80% or so.
Yeah.
So with that, do we assume, based on the chunking here, that the first half was, say, Battle of the Monolith, the 2 quests, and the first 2 fronts, maybe?
Maybe. And now they got to blow up City of Santistan.
Right.
And bury it so that
because environment
God Wars
more
dungeon.
environment more needs to happen. Environment.
Right. So you blow it up and you cover it
because we got archaeology down there now.
You can still go into God Wars Dungeon 1, right?
I guess.
So if there was archaeology there, you could still go down there and do your archaeology, right?
All right.
Just gonna make it look like.
Just make it look like it's had a harder time, eh?
Yeah. And cover it up like on the surface.
All right. Sounds good. And are there any more hero items that we could expect in the near future? And the answer to this one is that if there would be, they wouldn't talk about them because they need to fit within the content and be quiet. Because you remember, I think it was about a month before anybody actually figured that Hazelmere's signet ring was in the game, and the person who got it didn't even realize they got it, that so much so that Mod Timbo had to send him a message.
Yeah, I remember that, and I thought it might even been longer because it was so rare.
And then they dialed up the drop rate on that over time to make it more common, as it was one of the ultra rares of the day. All right, so with that live stream out of the way, let's move on to our own predictions of 2022. And it seemed like this would be a good week to do that. And we're just going to go through some of them, some that our team has put together with that. And I'm going to just start us off and say what I think is definitely going to be the case. And that's that the Elder God Wars finale will definitely disappoint part of the player base.
Okay.
And the reason I think this is because we've gone to a point in the storyline where the characters have so much investment behind them. Everybody who follows Saradomin, everybody who follows Zaros, and I could keep going down and on throughout the list. And there's always going to be an opportunity at these points to say, well, why didn't you do this with that character? Or, why didn't you end it in this way? Oh, but you left these threads dangling here, here, and here that we, could pull on, and we're going to be asking these questions, for the next 5 to 6 years, kind of like how we had when we were waiting for the end of the Elf series. So I think there's going to be still some unanswered questions, possibly with the Shadow Realm and Erebus. So as a result of that, I think we're going to get the finale, but it's probably not what people are going to expect it to be. And I think at this point, we're starting to lean that our prediction is probably 50-50 percent wrong in what we wrote together on that. So that's one of mine. Now, I wanted to do a group discussion on this next one here. Player avatar rework. Is that going to be resumed, or is it indefinitely paused? If you had to take a guess.
Oh, I think that's already been canned.
So you don't think it's going to be happening at all?
No.
And, with the amount of tech that we heard behind it and the fact that Mod Iro left, I, unfortunately, have to be in your camp on this one as well. I don't want to be in that angle, but I think there's going to come the day where the decision is going to be made that, we can't do this full rework. Instead, we might just say, I don't know, get some of the outfits reworked, for example, right? Something to that effect. That's what I'd have to say on that. It's not where I want to be, but I think that's something we're going to have to come to bear with in 2022. Our next one comes from Sirion. There's going to be at some point in 2023, there's going to be a new skill or major skill rework announcement for launch in 2023. That seems like a really hot take, I think.
Very optimistic coming from Sirion.
Yes. And we do have a question about what skill that could be reworked after. But I actually just want to take this as an opportunity to talk about archaeology. Because everybody points to archaeology as being this huge success, right? So,
well, I think it's hard to argue.
Yeah,
and anything other. And
I hope that there's some kind of documentation, a cookbook, if you will, about how to pull off a skill launch like that again in the future, with whatever skill it might be. And one thing that makes me optimistic, and I texted this to you earlier in the week, was that archaeology was designed and mostly implemented before Mod Warden even got on the scene. We, of course, loved him as executive producer and whatnot, and he had a huge role in the polishing and the marketing of archaeology, but the skill itself was designed by a very core group of essential Jagex players. And if there's a documentation about how they went about that and what they could do for other skills in the future, I'm optimistic about what they're going to be able to pull off with a new skill, should that come to fruition.
Yeah. I think the it was good to have somebody kind of put the brakes on it
Yeah.
to give it what it needed in those final months. And I think it's going to depend how the year goes on if they would do the same thing again, or rather if it would get pushed out. But more on that later.
Yeah. All right. I haven't hit any of your predictions yet, have you? Because you haven't told me what yours are yet. So, all right. Sirion also believes that more transparency and involving the players is not what it's going to seem on the surface. Everybody thinks that this could mean polls or maybe something like Rune Labs. He thinks it's going to be something else entirely that the players are not expecting. In general.
As in, I wonder what that means.
Well, what I think it means is just, having more view into what's happening when the decisions are made, how the decisions are made, rather than, in effect, going back to the old school model of polls and whatnot. Because there's a lot you can do with people working from home nowadays, is that you could have, say, a character artist fire up the Twitch stream for an hour on a Wednesday afternoon and stream early character work, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could have a bit of a discussion about how you design an update for a certain skill with, say, Mod Timbo. I just pulled that name out of thin air, but it could be anyone else, of course, right? And this is a more collaborative way of doing things, and it's actually a way that some other game studios work, but still manage to ship their products and have the AAA releases and whatnot. So more transparency and involving the players could mean entirely different things other than polls and Rune Labs. So that's his second prediction, which I think makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then before I turn it over to you, we have another one from Tycho Elf, who feels that RuneScape will go back to being over-transparent and over-confirming with the players, with their new lead, bringing the circle around us JMods, believe themselves to have learned their lesson and can give players what they want through the vocal minority. So were there any of our predictions here that you disagreed with?
I mean, maybe.
All right.
I'm not. I hope that
Sirion skill rework idea comes true.
Well, I was thinking more like I hope Tycho's doesn't, but
yeah, me too. I don't think we need the vocal minority running things.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. And I would love for the Elder God Wars finale to be appreciated by everybody, but you don't please everybody with lore.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's why I started with that, because I think that one is the given. All right.
Yeah.
I am firmly seated.
Okay.
Take us away.
This is how I see next year shaking out. And I'm kind of glad to have heard a few of the predictions from everyone else, because it kind of it fills in a few blanks, and I'll show you where. But the beginning of the year, between January, February, we get the last Elder God Wars dungeon quest.
Oh.
A third is a little bit more than what I thought, but for sure we get the quest between January and February.
All right.
Between February and July, it's going to feel like the spring that expansion started.
Oh, no.
There will be scattered, hit and miss, but quiet updates that don't seem to have much in the way of theme or rhyme or reason or
Let me
connection.
let me just press pause here for a minute. If we're talking about mid-sized updates,
No.
talking
about.
Let me just say that if we're talking about mid-sized updates right now should be in development for the end of February and March right now. That's probably about where we're at with the schedule.
There's probably not a lot of mid-size updates.
Okay.
Because the mid-size update will probably drop in late June or July. We will get like a summer update. Not in the scope of what Sirion's talked about with the big skill rework, but more in the scope
he said it would just be announced in 2022.
Right. And I'll tell you when in just a second.
All right.
But I could see that being more like a new boss or something of that scale. Make sense? Like,
yeah,
it could be something different, but that type of scale. And then we're going to run into another little dry spot until we hit to September, where we will get the announcement that there's going to be a new skill rework.
It feels like you're predicting 2019 all over again.
Because it's going to feel like 2019 all over again. See, there are some things when you've been doing this as long as we have, Shane,
yeah.
that and Jagex has been here as long as they've been here, that things tend to go in cycles, and those cycles seem to they tend to speed up and compress. And yeah, I think we're going right back into a 2019 kind of situation.
Overpromise, delay.
Perhaps.
Okay.
And I think in the realm of, and here's the good news. I
was hoping there'd be good news.
Take the silver lining anyway. I don't think MTX gets worse, but MTX will hold the same, and we may not actually see the continuance of the transparency with the prizes. But I don't see it making a major.
Why do you
uptick.
feel that way about the MTX?
Because I think that was one of the things that Mod Warden was putting brakes on, and I don't know if there are brakes on the car now. But with that being said, I don't think they can just all of a sudden, just start doing obnoxious promos and stuff. I think it will come more back in the way of just more of a backslide, not, just more of a backslide.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
but that's still better than what it could be.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's arguments to be made that they should actually keep the open transparency about the MTX rates, because there's a lot of countries out there that are starting to bring in rules like that, especially on the mobile front.
Hope, I wish, but I just...
All right.
That's not what I see.
All right, fair enough.
This is not what I predict.
Do you want to save the next part of the rework question for the question we have from our listener, or is there anything else you'd like to shed on 2022?
No. All that being said, I think RuneScape does what it always does, and it survives, and it just cruises along. And we may hear by summertime if they're gonna go ahead with the unannounced MMO. I think we hear that around that time too.
Yeah, and I mean the EP for that said soon he'd be able to talk about it, which in relative terms is 3 to 4 months, assuming nothing changes.
And 3 to 4 months, and in tech speak, that's going to get pushed back for at least another.
Yeah, and with it being unannounced, they can take as much time as they want.
Yeah.
All right. And I guess I'll just ask one thing on this. Do you think overall the players will be happy with this because they will have more transparency about it, or are we going back to the dirty C word of cadence?
Um, well, I mean, we're gonna hear about Cadence because I think it's gonna feel very disjointed in the spring. Um, but and I think people are gonna wonder what's going on.
All right.
Um, so
And to sum it up,
yeah,
then this means that your biggest bet is that we're off the cycle of monthly headliners. Then, come end of February.
yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know why.
I don't want it to be that way, but
I want to keep the monthly headliners, and I don't know why you'd change it. But I mean, more transparency, smaller updates, maybe. I don't know.
You would start introducing polling. Shane, we've seen the cycles.
Yeah.
We know what the next steps are. And right now, like I said, once it begins, it's going to be the tail wagging the dog.
Right. And, with that, I'd like to talk to some of the business analytics people to see what they have to say about, this idea of more transparency and changing off of this monthly release cycle that's seemingly worked for the last year and a half.
But you can only do that when you don't have your own vision. When you don't have your own direction, that's when you have to ask your players.
Yeah. Well, you remember,
what do we do?
Right. Right. There has to be a 1 year and a 5 year plan, right? And a general vision beyond that, which, Mod Warden said that he was the king of plans like that when.
Yeah,
internal roadmaps and plans, obviously. But the question is, does that exist with the team now and the new EP?
Well, his doesn't.
No, his doesn't, obviously.
So, I mean, we're back in probably the planning and the new EP's figuring out what
to do, and then
be,
so I see where your drought comes from then.
Yeah, it's the.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's cycles. I mean, I guess you couldn't call it a business cycle, but it's almost like I don't know. We see this over and over.
Yeah.
And
it felt like we were on good track to breaking out of that.
Yeah. Well, at least, I mean, at the end of the day, at least it's a good game at its core, and that's why we keep coming back.
Yeah, absolutely.
But these are the things that you just kind of get used to, and you kind of see, and can kind of just tell. And sometimes they're blessings in disguise because, I get it. A lot of people have done everything they feel like they can do, but there is so much in this game. It does give you a chance to try some different things. That's what Yak Track was all about, at first. And it's a little different now, but you can use these slow periods for the same kind of thing.
Right. I see what you mean.
Go after a goal that you haven't done.
Right.
Something like that.
And honestly, that's what I said at the start of the pandemic, is that everybody should pick up a skill that they've been wanting to pick up.
Yeah. And that's going to be my same advice when when this hits.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can pivot nicely into our questions this week with that. We have two of them. The first one from Imperial. Is there a particular skill you think deserves a rework or overhaul or could use a bit of polishing up? Maybe some new content for it. I will turn this over to you. What's going to be the skill announcement at the end of 2022?
What skill will it be?
Yeah, the rework or overhaul.
Agility.
Ooh, that's a dangerous one.
Super dangerous, and it's going to be agility because they won't give us construction.
Yeah.
It's like the one thing they're just not going to give us. And I heard Mod Osborne several times specifically mention agility, and that's what leads me to believe that would be the next rework.
Right, and I think we touched on that when he was on the show as well. So I think that'd be smart.
I think so.
Bet.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. As for me, as I've mentioned before, I've been doing the party hat and the yak track on an alt, a skiller alt, and that's been an eye-opening experience in a number of ways. And the first way is that you have a lot of skills out there that are really, really smooth, like archaeology, for example. That's a joy to come back to. Almost 2 years later, archaeology is still a joy. Then you have things like the mining and smithing route. Smooth, 100% flawless, and such great game design to it. It was only 2 ore boxes full of mithril to go from level 30 to 40. Perfect design. And good pacing. But, on the other hand, you have skills like crafting and hunter. Hunter was so obtuse at the beginning. I was getting, 10 XP for catching each bird, and you need to repeat this all the way through. And you fail the traps, and you have to move between different areas that are not immediately easy to get to, just like, archaeology makes it actually easy to get to all the dig sites. Hunter sites aren't easy to get to. You need to traverse the world for it, and there's no real benefit to training hunter at the low levels. So I think one of the ones that needs to have a look at from top to bottom and its place in game is hunter. That's the first one that comes to mind. And it was driving me so crazy that I grabbed a hunter training dummy and used that to get to, I think it was level 18, until I could get to the next birds that I needed to do. And then I used some protein traps to get to level 30, and that was the end of the day on hunter, because it just felt, why am I doing this? There's no point to the skill. So I think hunter needs a reason to exist. Is that too harsh?
No.
Okay.
Not really.
And the second one is crafting.
Yeah, that needs a good.
Crafting inputs these days are cheap. Gems are cheap because of the Elder God War stuff. Orbs are cheap because of the Elder God War stuff. But the problem with crafting, it's mechanically sound in terms of what you can make. You can make some leather armor with it. You can make some dragon hide. It's really only useful till mid-levels, but that's fine. That's easily fixed with an update. I feel like mechanically crafting is fine, whereas the old smithing skill was not fine mechanically, just because of how it worked with the ores and how you needed so many of them. I feel crafting is better because it hooks into the make system, the make X system. But the biggest problem I had with crafting was that unless you look something up online, it's so hard to know what to train. Do you know what the best training method for crafting is, leveling up at the lower levels, like the teens?
I wouldn't have any idea.
And the conventional wisdom will say, if you're, new to the game, go kill cows, gather the cowhide, tan leather, and make leather bodies. Which is fine. But, it's actually a really interesting training method for the first 40-odd levels of crafting? Glass blowing.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I wouldn't have known that.
You can buy sand. It's cheap. Everybody has access to the sand pit. People can make some money with that. Soda ash, a little bit more troublesome to come across. Or, we can get copious amounts of molten glass sometimes. And you can maybe even just buy that on the exchange if you wanted to. But crafting, I feel, is its fastest with molten glass at the beginning and then pivoting into gems. But the very design of the skill, I feel, forces you to go down the jewelry and armor route, which isn't fast and isn't profitable. But there's these other better options right now that are, quote, asterisk, market dependent. But I think the game could do a better job of putting you in the position to know that, hey, maybe you should check out molten glass, or maybe you should check out some gem cutting. Maybe there could be gem cutting contracts or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I really wish that crafting could have gotten the mining and smithing treatment, and we could have gotten some kind of magical armor or masterwork type.
I think the boat has set sail on that one.
It did. But that's the kind of crafting rework I would like to see. I mean, on one hand, crafting is probably one of the most diversified skills in the way that the different things that you can train it on. but the
Knowing what to do
XP
is hard.
skills is knowing what to do is hard, and I just think like the tiers are all over the place. So, um, a skill that should be very diverse and have a lot of choice really doesn't in the end.
Yeah. Like to give you an example right now, based on GE values, is how gems are sitting right now. The only gem that costs more than 5 GP per XP is Sapphire. Emeralds are -1. Rubies are -1. Diamonds are -4. Dragonstones are -4 to cut. And Onyxes are +17 GP profit per experience to cut.
Huh.
And this takes you all the way to level 72 crafting once you hit level 20.
Yeah. Jeez.
And you would have to do some digging to know this, but this goes to the discussion point that a lot of what crafting focuses you on, the jewelry and armor and even the pottery path, really isn't that good in terms of XP or profit. You got to look to other things. And as a result of that, I think there needs to be maybe a different way to ease people into training that skill. Plus, at the high end, just like, smithing did before, it really didn't feel that useful.
Or, I mean, I could almost see. I mean, you can't do it with a 20-year-old game. That's the thing that sucks about it. But you could separate, like, the jewelry making, the glass blowing, all of the other stuff in crafting from the light armor making, whatever that would be.
Yeah.
And have that its own separate skill.
Mm-hmm.
That, was making ranged armor and magic armor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you could even move that in. Well, I could say move it into fletching, but making armor like that really isn't a fletching kind of thing. But you get where I'm going with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, hunter and crafting are mine, and agility is yours. So I think those are some pretty good ideas for that one. So, another skill that was really smooth, and you're gonna find this really absurd to hear. Divination.
Well, I mean,
divination and recrafting were actually really smooth.
Yeah, I mean, divination was smooth. It was just grindy.
No, but I mean, even with the updates that came out this year, better.
Oh, that was, that made it.
Yeah.
That was good.
Rune span for rune crafting. Half an hour, level 20. So, whereas in the olden days, forever. So, at the end of the day, we give the game a lot of heck for all the skills being bad and outdated, but I think there's really only a few that need a little bit of polish around the edges. So, all right, next question.
That's convenient too, because that's probably all we're gonna get.
Yeah, that's right. Eh?
Except
I would
for
love a high-level crafting update.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably rather have the one that, I'd rather have yours than mine, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Our dream agility rework would be tying it in with range to make, a roguelike experience.
Ooh, now that I don't see that as part of this, but yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. All right, next one is from the RR Man. So I've joined you both in making a second account. Of course, it's for another party hat. You got to invest in the future, right? But truly, it has become more than that. I'm really enjoying re-experiencing the start game and all the changes that have been made over the years. So I ask you, what new or quality of life things have you enjoyed the second time around? Most of my fun came from doing the mining and smithing rework from scratch. It's so well balanced now. This is all. Happy end of 2021 and peace out.
Yeah, this is different because I've done this a few times now, right? And
yeah.
The first time that I did that was when we were doing the Darkscape thing, and that was a lot of fun because it was accelerated. level growth, but you were doing, I don't know, it was a different kind of animal. Now when I made my main alt, which is the only one that I have, I did that for the sole purpose of a untrimmed construction cape. Um, but what I found was I ended up enjoying, I can't believe this, but early game I enjoyed doing the quest.
Oh yeah.
Um, that was a lot of fun to go back and do um
I'm
to
saving the
do the
quest until
quest.
Yak Track is done. I will
Well, yeah, I
admit
mean
that.
I get that. But it's just like, for me, sometimes I have to go through a quest just to figure out where things are, what's going on. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the second time I don't know, I can just focus on the quest, rather than, I'm looking for
Oh
everything,
yeah.
trying to all that type of stuff. It just seems more enjoyable sometimes the second time through.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, for me, it was an update we got a few weeks ago. It was the daily challenge system.
Okay.
And these daily challenges are wonderful because, they push Herblore, for example, from levels 1 to 4. Divination from levels 1 to 5, just with the first daily challenge I did. Then every day one of those comes up, you get, of course, another daily challenge for that skill. You get another level or two. It's very generous at those low levels for making the game feel less grindy and creating a sense of onboarding your character. So, daily challenge system for me, 100% hands down. And we talked about the benefits of it for high level accounts last week, but I honestly don't know if there's I mean, there obviously is one, but I honestly feel like every new character should go and experience the daily challenge system, because that's something that is just a new top quality of life feature that we didn't have before. And because you can just have them repeat so often now every day, and it changes them out if you don't do them, I feel like it's this where the system needs to be. So daily
I
challenges for me.
I agree with you. Just thinking back when you got dumped out in the world, this was such a big, overwhelming kind of game that
Yeah.
those daily challenges gives you a little bit of structure until you have kind of learned what you want to do and what your routines are and how you like to play. It feels like that's the one thing that you can look at and be like, oh, well, I could do this or I could do that, and you're going to get a decent reward for it.
Another actual quality of life thing about the starting experience, the first time user experience, I feel like they're doing well on the starting UI. They actually start the player at size 14 font, which is really readable, which is nice. The UI resembles a lot of what the UI used to look like prior to the new interface system in RuneScape 3. And speaking about first-time user experience stuff, pretty much all the skills are trainable in the Birthorpe area for the first 10 levels or so.
Yeah.
Which, you were running everywhere back in the day.
Yeah. That's a leftover from when they switched everything to Birthright, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And even then, you still arrive in Birthorpe today if you, depending which tutorial you drop out of. So.
Oh, okay.
And then you get put right into the path and achievement system. So I think the path and achievement system for new leveling players is good. Obviously, there's things that are just good at the top and the high end, like the player-owned farm, I have to point out. Other aspects of the game as well are, our man mentioned, mining and smithing rework. There's just so many good things, but I'm going to have to stick with the challenges system, the daily challenge system. So There we have it. Thank you for your questions, everybody. If you guys want to send your own in, you can pop it in at update.rsbnb.com/ask. All right. What do you got for pick of the week this week?
All right. So my pick of the week is a little late. It's a few years old at this point, I think, but I have started watching Star Wars Rebels. It's a Disney Plus series, and it follows a Jedi Master Kanan Jarrus that had escaped the Purge, Order 66, and he takes on a young apprentice, and it seems to be following their story so far. And it's really good, and it seemed so familiar for me because it reminded me a lot of Jedi Fallen Order, which I guess makes sense. Yeah, and it came out before Jedi Fallen Order, so I think there was a lot of inspiration from this series in that game. But yeah, it's been fun, and I was watching something while I am waiting for The Mandalorian, and and we only get one Discovery episode a week, so we have to fill in the rest of the time.
Fair enough. Yep, and of course, pick. Disney Plus. I remember when we first did that as pick of the week 2 years ago now.
Yeah, it's one of the streaming services that I still have, and I still like it.
Yeah, you hear the name Disney and you automatically think kids shows, but the mouse touches so much.
Oh, everything, and there's rumors they may even pick up WWE. We'll see about that. Yeah, that would not be hilarious. Oh, good Lord, I don't know. I just don't know. But even National Geographic is on Disney, and I have some really cool shows on it. All your Marvel, I've caught up with like WandaVision and Loki and all those other shows. I think it's a hell of a deal, but
yeah, and
but this wasn't a Disney Plus.
No, obviously not. I feel like it was in disguise. But my next one, I don't actually know where you find this in the US. The next pick of the week is Dexter New Blood, and I don't know that I need to say much else about that.
Yes. I remember when Dexter came out.
Yeah,
we used to watch that. It was such a unique idea at the time.
I didn't like the way they ended it.
A lot of shows do
mainly
that
with the child abandonment thing, but that's been resolved fairly well, I think.
Yeah, a lot of shows. A lot of those shows seems like they did that. The Mentalist comes to mind with that. Game of Thrones,
Yeah, and
on and on.
And that's what I say, and why I put that in for our prediction for 2022 RS is that you're not going to please everybody with the quest, just like you're not going to please everybody with a TV show. So I figure I can mention this and definitely give it a check out. If you like the first one, you'll like the second one. But if you're looking for something new, something set in a nice, cold, snowy place, this is perhaps the thing to go for.
All right.
Let's do some achievements.
Okay. Well, let me start us off here with Giovannic, Scandinavian, with 120 defense on December 8th. And then we have Io Mises, 120 Slayer on the 8th. We have Matt 258, 120 farming, also on the 8th. A lot of 120s. Look at that.
It's not even double XP.
We have Twisted Soul with 99 fletching on the 8th. And we have Arendelle 120 with 120 Herblore on the 7th. We have Fritz Krieg with 99 Invention on the 7th.
Nice.
And God Shaman with 99 Herblore on the 7th, and Vivian with 99 Crafting on December 7th.
Nicely done, everyone. Nicely
Yeah,
done. And
very
I'm going
nice.
to pick us up on the 6th. We have Atmohua with 99 Defense, Farox Kratos with 99 Divination, Iron VSS with 99 Defense, Teffing Spy with 99 Summoning, Vivian with 99 Fletching, Farox Kratos again with 99 Constitution, Jam Andy 52 got 120 Prayer on the 5th. Then we have Rolla Dude 540 with 120 Archaeology on the 5th. Darkest Night got 99 Summoning on the 4th. Continuing on the 4th, we have Arendelle 20 with 120 Mining, Tanny Kiat with 99 Thieving, and on the 2nd, we have Dr. Reggie with 99 Woodcutting, and Queen Adina with 99 Hunter. Nicely done, everyone. Nicely done.
Nice job.
All right, so before we dive into what we've been up to on RS, I'll just say that if you want to help us build the clip show for this year, head on over to update.rsbnb.com/clips. There you can, if you have a clip, you can share it with us. It could be any time, any episode, and just give us a brief note about why it's noteworthy. Please include the episode number. Try and include a time down to the second if possible. If not, just give us a general idea. But also leave your name, and we'll credit you for the clip if you want to do that. Because Clip Show is only a couple weeks away now, so that's going to be good fun. All right, what have you been up to on RS?
We're yak tracking, and when I'm not yak tracking, I've been mining. I took the show over to the light Animica, and I keep looking at my XP, and I'm like, man, I'm like halfway there, like 53 mil or whatever. I am, and I keep thinking I'm gonna have a lot of Elder Rune when we're done with this.
You know what you should do? Make it into +4s and then sell it before double XP, because people buy +4s for burial.
That's kind of what I've been thinking. I'm like, that's gonna be a ton of money.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, yeah, and I have to do it anyway, so yay.
Or you could just Iron Man it yourself and, make it into +5s and do that on a double XP.
Yeah, I could. I don't know. Smithing is fun. I don't know. I could. That's a hard decision.
All right.
I have to think about it.
How's your party hat?
It looks like it was at a drunken frat party, and there's only about a couple pieces of it left, and we're still stringing it together.
Okay.
We're trying to tape it together with gum and duct tape.
And that's the beauty of this event. There's so many days left for it that you can really take your time with it.
Yeah.
I finished my first one on my main account. Oh gosh, what was it that I did? I didn't get the support shard.
So was that your 30 mil?
No, that wasn't 30 mil.
Okay.
I went Wise Old Man, of course, the quest, gathering, artisan, bossing, combat, Yak Track Premier Club.
Oh, okay. There you go.
But on the main, I have been, of course, doing Yak Track, and whenever Skill and Kill comes up, I have been blessing my sand. I broke down and I bought the remaining 30,000 sand. I mined the first 10,000, but I bought the remaining 30,000 because I just couldn't be bothered with that. So I've been blessing that on the Skill and Kills, and otherwise just doing Yak Track as the tasks come up.
There you go.
And that even involved a Zuck run for Marks of War.
Oh, that would be a good way to get Marks of War.
Yeah, it was. Because you got the 6 Jads, you got Hurricane, and you got Zuck himself.
Oh, does it only count the Marks of War when they're present?
No, yeah. You only get Marks of War for those ones.
I know, but it's a whole boss encounter.
Right. That was also
cooler if you got the whole time.
That was also a Zuck Reaper task.
Oh.
Like, in what world would you have ever thought that, right?
How many of those?
Just
I hope it was one.
Just one.
Yeah, jeez.
Right? Like, who would have ever thought of that? I just laughed at myself when I had it in there to start that.
Yeah, you just Yeah, don't ask much or nothing there, Def. No problem.
Yeah. And it's also been really interesting because I've moved from full revolution to firing off my ultimates and thresholds manually too.
I didn't even know you could do full revolution in a bossing situation like that.
Absolutely. That's how I got my first 3 igneous stones. Was revolution.
Okay.
So
well, nice.
But aside from that, on the alt, I have just been training around. I have all the shards I can get there because obviously I don't have a source of clue scrolls. I'm not going bossing on a level 3 skiller. I'm not doing combat on a level 3 skiller. So that means that my 30 that I got all the 4 skilling ones: support, gathering, artisan, and the other one. I'm just blanking on that right now. And I will have to raise a 30 mil for that, but there's plenty of time to do that. Currently, my highest skill is agility because of the Silverhawk boots.
Oh. You love them, don't you, Shane? You love them.
Yeah, I do. I only set foot on an agility course for a couple daily challenges.
Yeah. There you go.
And I have 63 thieving already because it took that long to get the support shard.
Oh, and that means you're ready to
do safes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So dungeon doors for that is what I use to level up quickly in the Thieves Guild, and it's been thieving is stupid fast at this point. So, but the goal on that account is to do the act track, do the party hat, then get 99 on trim farming again.
There you go. Nice.
So that's what I've been up to on RS, and I believe with that we can call it a show, and we'll be back next week for the Christmas update, which they've been dropping a few subtle hints at, so that'll be a fun way to end our regularly scheduled update programming of the year. We will have for you guys on Christmas Eve, we will have a year in PVM retrospective on all the meta changes that happened throughout the year. I think you can guess who will be there, but we'll be having David and Thaxi on, and we'll be obviously doing some math with that and just, seeing where everything's at after this year, because there's a lot of PVM this year. Then following that, the last episode of the year on New Year's Eve will be, of course, the clip show, as it is each and every year. But if you want to subscribe to us and get the podcast delivered automatically to you, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, and YouTube, of course. Leave us a like and subscribe there. It definitely helps the channel out. But you can find links to all these and more at update.rsbnb.com/subscribe. So with that being said, we'll see you guys next week for another episode of RSBANDB Update. Take care, everyone.
See ya.